Welcome to the Engineering Influence Podcast from the American Council of Engineering Companies. The American Council of Engineering Companies Retirement Trust, the ACEC Retirement Trust, is a great benefit for our members and affiliate members. And today we have industry experts with us to provide information about what's changing and what's taking place in the 401k industry and how that will impact your firm as a participant. Today's guests are Jennifer Doss. She is the Defined Contribution Practice Leader at CAPTRUST, the largest registered investment advisor in the country, and CAPTRUST is also the advisor to the ACEC Retirement Trust. Joining Jennifer is Chris Anderson. He is president of DJ&A, and he's a trustee to the ACEC Retirement Trust. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah,
thanks for having us.
We should tell folks the ACEC Retirement Trust was formed in 1973 and it's celebrating its 50th year of service. The Retirement Trust has over $2 billion in assets, delivers exceptional service, best-in-class investment, and high value. Now let's dive right in. Jennifer, every year you do predictions about the defined contributions industry. Can you give us a quick overview of your predictions for 2023?
Sure, and just thank you for having me again. I appreciate being on the podcast. In terms of predictions, we make predictions for a lot of our business lines. I do the specific one for defined contribution plans, so that would be most relevant to the ACEC group. So, 401k plans particularly. We had a few this year, but I will hit on just some major ones, I think, for our discussion today. The first is going to be around ESG investing. So that is environmental, social, and governance investing for those that are not familiar with the acronym. Given the passage, we had a final ESG rule come out from the Department of Labor at the very tail end of last year. So that's going to spark a lot of discussion on ESG this year. And clearly you've seen it in the news, in the media. It's been a hot topic as well. Unfortunately, a political topic, but it's been a topic nonetheless. So I think a lot of plan sponsors that have been waiting on the sidelines potentially to offer an ESG option to their employees, they may jump in this year or at least want to discuss that in more depth. I also think we're going to start to get better data from companies, which will make that a little easier as well. The second that I'll mention is what we would call a new social contract. So by that, I mean the changing role of the employer to provide what we would call a holistic financial wellness experience or benefit to their employees. And employees, they want it targeted to their unique situation. They don't just want this general education anymore, like, what is this? They want to know how it affects them. They want to be able to talk to a financial professional. They want to be able to get personalized recommendations for them. But they don't want it to just be about investments anymore. This is not just about the retirement plan. It's about things like debt management, saving for college, budgeting, whatever really is where they are at this point in time. Those are all things that can impact your overall finances, and they have nothing to do with how you invest your assets within the retirement plan. So that's just a small piece of the pie at this point. A derivation, I think, on the social contract theme is retirement income. A lot of employers are looking to keep retiree assets in their plan more than ever before. I think there's a realization that these are individuals with the biggest balances, right? On the whole, that's a generalization, but it's because it's probably true. And there's a lot of benefits you can get by keeping these bigger balances within your retirement plan. Employees realize the benefits now. They can get lower costs. They can get better access to that financial advice through the plan than outside of it. So I think this naturally starts a conversation with plan sponsors around, do you have the right investment options for your retirees? Do you offer a retirement income product, something that maybe is guaranteed? Do you have more flexible withdrawal features? Do you offer, managed accounts and planning tools and all of these things? Because I think if you're expecting to entice a certain demographic, then you have to think about whether you have those resources in place to meet those different needs. And then the final, and I'll stop talking, I promise, is the final theme I will mention is fiduciary outsourcing. And by this, I just mean the super strong demand that we've seen within the industry for outsourcing any fiduciary functions to professionals versus members of the individual committees. It is harder than ever to be a committee member. There's more regulations to think about. There's litigation, fears, and just simply the time that it takes at this point to make all these prudent decisions. So more employers than ever before are hiring discretionary investment managers and discretionary administrators to offload some of that time, that decision making, and that risk of running a retirement plan. Really, anything folks can do to get some time back in their day at this point and mitigate their risk, they're very excited to pursue.
Chris, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, I'll just comment on a couple of things. First of all, the ACEC Retirement Trust is here to help ACEC members with all of those challenges, right? So if you are a member of ACEC, you're eligible to join a group of about 350 other firms who have all pooled their resources to provide just tremendous value. We talked a little bit about the best-in-class investments and the fund lineups. Jennifer talked about ESG investing. That's probably one of the biggest requests that we get from our members is the opportunity to invest in green investments or environmentally responsible and socially responsible investments. And so one thing we have added to our trust lineup, our investment lineup, is a Vanguard social index fund. And we manage those funds. We watch those funds very closely to make sure that they are, in fact, the highest performing funds in their class, and continue to offer those to members of the trust. And, we are seeing an uptick in retirement fee litigation. And that's basically when members of your retirement plan are unhappy with the way you're managing your plan. You are a fiduciary for your plan. And when your retirement plan members are unhappy with that, they tend to litigate those issues. And one benefit that the trust offers that I think might be the most important benefit of the trust is that enhanced fiduciary protection for you. As trustees, we serve as fiduciaries. We check all the boxes, we cross all the T's and dot all the I's, and make sure that we are protecting you and your plan assets and other firms and their plan assets as we provide that enhanced fiduciary protection. So the nice part too, when Jennifer talked about some of the flexibility that the plans offer, you get to create your own plan. This isn't just one plan and we try to right size it for everybody. No, this is an individual plan that speaks to your firm's individual needs. So as we talk about, how those retirement balances are distributed to individuals when they reach that retirement age, it's completely customized to meet individual plan needs. So those are just a few comments that I would add to Jennifer's presentation, which she did very, very well at. Nice job, Jennifer.
Thank you. And I'll just add, I think, Chris, the trust also offers access to that holistic, advice and financial wellness and stuff. And I know that's maybe a newer thing, but certainly offering people all those benefits and what they really want and what the market demands, I think is super key going forward. So that's another good thing about what you guys have built.
Great points. Let's turn now to the new legislation that came out of Washington at the end of 2022, the Secure 2.0 Act. Jennifer, can you tell us a few of the more interesting things that were included in that legislation?
Yeah, sure. And I'm going to assume by now that many listeners have probably heard ad nauseum about Secure 2.0 Act. So I'm just going to assume that most people know what it is at this point and proceed as such. But it's a massive bill if you don't know. It's very end of 2022. It has over 90 different individual provisions. Most of them are optional by the employer. And that is a lot for people to digest. And thankfully, I think, the effective dates are spread out all the way from the very tail end of 2022 when it was finalized to all the way to beginning of 2033 when that final provision kicks in. So that's a long time for people to have this stuff kind of lingering out there. And I think a big problem that we've heard from employees or employers as we've talked to them is, where do you start? How do you start evaluating some of these products? It's just a lot. And I think so far there's just a lot of confusion over, when and where to start. So I would say that there are really three that so far we think are gaining the most attention. And the first is around student loan matching. And this is a provision that allows student loan repayments to be treated as employee deferrals, basically for purposes of, if you're going to match, you're going to do like just a standard non-elective contribution for your employees. And I think a lot of employers have been waiting to implement something like this for a while. They just were kind of a little bit more unsure about it. And that's going to become effective in 2024. we're having a lot of conversations about that this year. And student loan debt, I mean, that's a huge issue for some, particularly some employee demographics and particular industries. And I think a lot of employers are interested in using this as an attractive or attraction and retention tool. And I think that that will be successful. The second that we're getting a lot of questions on or a lot of interest in is from emergency savings. And there are actually a few ways that the Secure Act helps or tries to help address emergency savings needs, but neither one is mandatory. So, you can do both or neither or one. So again, these are lots of decisions. Many employers, they want the ability to, utilize that payroll deduction that's just been super successful for retirement plans and really harness that inertia of something that just comes right out of your paycheck, right? And the purpose of that. So I think there's a lot to consider here, in the fact that there are two provisions to meet the same type of issue you might be trying to address. So which one is best for you or both? But furthermore, I mean, how do they interact with your participant demographics? Is this a big issue for you? Is this a deterrent, you think, from people contributing to your plan potentially? If not, okay, maybe take a look at, your loans and your hardships and all those other kind of features you have with your plan. But I think this is going to be an employer by employer decision. And Chris, to your point, that's why it's important sometimes to remain an individual plan with those options, because what works for one is not necessarily going to work for everybody or, meet the, philosophy of a particular employer. And then the final topic that we're getting a lot of questions on is all these Roth provisions. And there's one that allows for potentially employer contributions to be designated as Roth. So after tax versus the pre-tax that we all usually see. There's also one that eliminates required minimum distributions for Roth money within a retirement plan. Those were actually previously subject to RMD rules. They're not within a Roth IRA. That's what people think, but they were within the retirement plan. So that was eliminated. I think people, particularly younger workers, and I'm generalizing, but they're interested in the ability, I think, to save post-tax as opposed to pre-tax. They think their marginal tax rates are going to be lower now than they would be when they're taking it out in retirement, which may or may not be true. And that's a very personal decision on part of the employee. But I think they want to have the option. And so, if certain plans have successfully kept retirees in their plan, and they have participants that might be subject to RMDs on their Roth money, this should help them keep a little bit more money in the plan going forward. So lots of Roth discussion within the Secure Act, but all good stuff.
Yeah, that was a really good summary of just the changes that Secure 2.0 is going to bring to the retirement industry. And, it's interesting. Retirement plans are the most important non-urgent topics in your business, right? Nobody loves to dive in and really talk about this. Maybe a few exceptional individuals, but Jennifer loves it, and which is great. But for most firm owners, most executives in firms, this is something that they don't want to have to deal with on a regular basis. And I think that's where the trust can come in, is we can help firms navigate all of the options that Secure 2.0 represents. One thing that we've been doing for a while now, even pre-Secure 2.0, is we have been providing that student loan repayment provision. We've been doing that for about 5 years now. And that's been a tremendous benefit that certain plans have elected to take up. I've noticed it being utilized especially in larger firms, and they're using it as a retention tool. They're saying to their young employees, we will help you repay your student debt, and they do it in the form of defined contributions. So it's a really great program that some of our members are participating in now and have been for the last 5 years. And it's a great benefit. The war for talent is on. Make no mistake about it. Everybody knows that. In fact, I think in a poll conducted amongst firms, their single biggest concern right now is recruiting and retaining talent. And I know me and my firm, we certainly are focused on that right now. And adding provisions like this to your retirement plan, getting people to stop and think about their retirement, not something that people often do, and getting them to stop and think about it adds value as you're able to offer some of these tools and benefits to them through defined contributions.
Yeah. And I think, again, going back to the individual participant financial help, having access to that is super helpful when you start thinking about all these different options that you might provide to your employees, right? They might need help kind of sifting through those and then deciding whether that's right for them. So I mentioned Roth, that's an individual decision that they could help, decide, make. And, are you going to offer some sort of student loan matching, and should you take advantage of that? And so not just offering these things is not necessarily enough, right? You have to offer these things with the tools that will enable them to be able to use them correctly. And that's not just sending out, a piece of paper every quarter. That's really having somebody that they can sit down with. And so I think that's going to be crucial as well as we start to roll out a lot of these Secure Act provisions.
That's a great point. I think it's important to note that with the retirement trust, business leaders don't have to figure it out on their own, what their firm needs, what their participants are going to need. And then individuals, once you're enrolled in it, don't need to figure it out all on your own. You've got the solutions that are from professionals and that one-on-one discussion, because it is so personal.
Well, and certainly that's available, I think, not just to members of the trust, but to really anybody. Everybody's got an advisor, right? And the difference with the trust is that we have immense buying power. Take your, $30 million retirement plan and compare it to this $2.5 billion retirement plan with ACEC. And who's going to be able to go to the negotiating table on your behalf and help you achieve a lower fee rate, lower record keeping fees, a better fund lineup? There are some of our funds that aren't even available to investors with less than $1 billion. So that's the kind of benefit that we can offer. It's not just the navigating of things like Secure 2.0. Everybody's got an advisor of some sort. We hire the best in class. We offer those services to all of our members through the trust, and we do it in a really economical way that ultimately puts more money in your account, not in your portfolio manager's account.
That's a great point. Jennifer, more generally speaking, are there required provisions that are going to impact the trust and its member firms?
I think, as I mentioned before, there's really only a handful, probably out of the 90 total, and it's kind of spread out between now and 2033. So when you start to look at it on a per year basis, there's not a lot that employers, have to do. Again, it's more about the optional stuff and how that's all going to play out. But there are some, and I think the biggest one that comes to mind, or that's generated the most questions so far, is the change to catch-up contributions for those that are over 50 years old. As of the beginning of next year, 2024, all catch-up contributions are going to have to be made as Roth, so that after-tax versus pre-tax, for employees that make more than $145,000 a year. And there's some additional caveats there that I'm not going to get into, but that's generally the situation. So, if an employer offers catch-up contributions, which almost all of them do, almost 100%, the interesting thing is, if you don't currently offer Roth, you're going to have to add it by 2024, because you have to have if you're going to have catch-ups, you have to have the ability for people to do it as a Roth. So that's going to be something that, employers need to be mindful of. And the other one that's impactful is an overall increase, I think, in the required minimum distribution age. So I already talked about how the RMDs were removed for Roth money within the plan, which was a positive thing. This is just an additional positive thing, but this has to do with the just overall raising of the age for when you have to start taking your required minimum distributions from the account. As of the beginning of this year, 2023, the age was raised from 72. It's up to 73, effective immediately. And then this is the one that goes all the way out to 2033. The age increases again to 75, and then that's the max. So the goal here really is to help those that, don't need the money, right? They don't need to take out all of that, or they don't need to take out that amount to keep, investing longer. They can keep it within the trust and take advantage of some of those things that, Chris talked about, right? People are generally living longer, and, we need to account for that as well. So that's where the increase in RMD age. So that is a requirement that plans are going to have to roll out as well.
Well, thank you for that, Jennifer. As I mentioned earlier, the ACEC Retirement Trust is a membership benefit for both ACEC members and affiliate members. ACEC uses the retirement trust. We here at ACEC use the retirement trust for our 401k plan. And Chris, if folks want to reach out to you and get involved, learn more, where can they find you?
Yeah, that's a great question. And the invitation really is to benchmark your 401k plan against the trust. Even if you're not interested in joining, individuals have a fiduciary duty to continually look at their plans and determine whether they truly are the best for their people. And that can be measured on a variety of scales. But we just invite people to benchmark your plans against the trust. We will do that for you. The person to contact to do that is Lydia Zabricki. She does a fantastic job. It's very painless. She works with your HR manager, your accounting group to really get the information that's needed and provide you with a nice, clean report that shows perhaps what you're missing out on not being a member of the trust, and gives you that information and the opportunity to act on it if you'd like. Yeah, that would be my encouragement to people who are listening to this podcast, who are members or affiliate members, is reach out and ask Lydia to benchmark your plan against the trust. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at how the trust can help you not only navigate things like Secure 2.0, but again, put more of your money into your pocket or into your account versus into the pockets of your investment portfolio managers. So
great. And we will include Lydia's information in our show notes. We invite all ACEC members to reach out to Lydia and simply benchmark their plan against the ACEC Retirement Trust. You'll have the data to make the decision that you need. The ACEC Retirement Trust will save you time, save you money, improve outcomes, and provides that fiduciary insulation that we're all looking for. Jennifer, Chris, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today.
Thanks for having us.
Interesting discussion.
Thank you.
This has been another episode of the Engineering Influence Podcast from the American Council of Engineering Companies. Thanks so much.